Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Khaosity here, back again for a brand new video here on the channel. And today I'm going to give my final thoughts on Sonic Frontiers before the game comes out, because as we know, the game comes out in, at this point, 13 days, so less than 2 weeks. The package has been secured, so I will be playing that day one. So if you want to join me for that stream, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get straight into this now. Before I actually do get into this is going to be a pretty short video because I'm only looking at what they have shown us. Alright, I'm not really going to go in depth because the game obviously isn't out. But what I'm going to be talking about today is the open world, the combat, and cyberspace. That's it. I'm not going to be talking about really anything else. I'm not going to really go that much in depth. I'm going to go in depth a little bit on the open world, but in terms of combat and cyberspace, it's really only like a one face thing. So I'm not going to really go in depth with that. So, starting off, we have the open world, okay? As we know, we have seen 3 islands at this point. We have seen Kronos, Ares, and Chaos Island. And so, what do I think about the open world? As it stands right now, the open world, it seems, I'm not gonna lie, it seems pretty fun, okay? It seems pretty fun for what you can do in it. You got the puzzles, you got the platforming, even though it's not really platforming. You got the combat, but I'll get into that on its own later. The open world right now seems pretty okay. Alright, it seems pretty okay. I will have some fun with it. My main problem that I have with it currently is literally the platforming and the puzzles. Those are the only 2 things that I really have an issue with in the open world. The platforming, as we know, for the most part at least, they didn't make this game with platforming in mind, okay? You can tell just by looking at everything that's floating in the sky, all the platforms, all the rails, all the hoops. They didn't really make this game with platforming in mind because everything has been added in after the fact. Because apparently, according to Gamer Guy's Insider, this is not even confirmed, to be honest, but it does sound like this is what will happen. They made the game. They had the open world, they had the cyberspace, because that's all it was. Apparently it was just the open world, combat, and cyberspace. But the open world was really boring because there was no actual platforming elements, there was no level design elements incorporated into the open world. It was just open world, open fields, you fight stuff, combat, you get the collectibles, you do the cyberspace. So the open world was boring, and they had to add in some platforming elements, which is why everything is just platforms and rails. Like, if you look at, like, let's say Chaos Island with all the wall running sections that they have, it's all just platforms put right next to each other in like some kind of level editor looking type thing. It was all added in after the fact. So one thing I would like to see them do come the next game, Sonic Frontiers 2 or whatever that may be, something I would like to see them do is actually incorporate level design into the world itself, okay? Like, have the world have some actual loopy-loops, have some winding pathways, have things that are incorporated into the open world, and then on top of that you can sprinkle in the rails and the platforming and all that, okay? The open world is not that bad. It's just that most, if not all, the platforming has been added in after the fact. If more of it was incorporated into the open world itself, I wouldn't be feeling this way, okay? For the platforming, it needs to be a little bit more challenging. For the most part, it's some pretty simple stuff. There is a bit of challenge here and there, which I guess is fine. Okay, I guess it's fine. I have no problem with it, really. But if they really want to take this to the next step, if they really wanted to take this to the next level, we need to have some legitimate platforming challenges that are, like, pretty difficult to beat. But of course, with this being Kishimoto, the difficulty is probably just going to decrease in the coming years, so you can just say goodbye to that. But moving on from the open world, next we have is the combat, okay? The combat looks fire, period. Alright, it looks pretty legit. Alright, it looks pretty cool. The combat is not simple. You actually got to do some things. Some combos are only effective. Some combos are only done in the air, some of them on the ground. Of course, you can chain the combos, chain them together, make some cool clips, things like that. The things like that are actually pretty cool, okay? I'm not really worried about combat in the slightest, because just looking at the gameplay, I know I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to be hitting some sick clips with the combat, okay? So combat doesn't really matter that much for me, and I'm not going to go into the whole Unleashed combat versus this combat debate, because quite honestly, I don't really care. As long as it's fun for me, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Now, aside from the combat, one thing I do want to get into is Sonic's movement, okay? His movement, for the most part, has been said to be, or said to feel really good in the open world, but Cyberspace, for some reason, has a different movement scheme. All right, I have no idea why they would make Cyberspace have its own movement. They should have just kept it the same, because honestly, open world movement in those Cyberspace levels would just it would feel a lot better, because judging from the Cyberspace gameplay and how some people play it, it looks stiff. It looks like its force is stiff, and that's what scares me. Okay, open world movement seems pretty pristine, not gonna lie, because you know, Sonic, he actually flows, you can turn while boosting, he has a drop dash, a whole bunch of things that actually seem legit in the open world, except the drop dash. Honestly, the drop dash, I don't know why you would use it in the open world. I feel like it would be more effective in Cyberspace. All right, it would be more effective in Cyberspace, but then again, Cyberspace has its own control scheme, so the drop dash may not even work there. But his movement in the overworld is clean. His movement in Cyberspace is stiff. Hopefully it's not that bad. Hopefully it's not that bad, because as we know, right, Cyberspace, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into the next point, movement overall is pretty good. Okay, until I play the game for myself, I can't really say anything for sure, but based on what I've seen and based on what everyone is saying, movement is pretty good. All right, but next we have the complete disappointment that is Cyberspace. Okay, and Cyberspace is a delicate topic, and the reason this is simply because they're not really doing anything. They're rehashing stages again, I might add, and at this point in time, I'm tired of it, quite frankly. Like, you're not being nostalgic, you're not hitting the nostalgia strings with these rehashes, dude. You're just, to be honest, at this point, it just comes off as lazy. It just comes off as lazy. What I think is, at this point, the current Sonic team that we have are just not capable of making good boost stages. All right, if we go off of what Forces has come out with, Forces being the game that it is, was terrible. Level design was terrible. Everything was automated. Nobody liked it. Literally nobody liked it. To combat that, right, or to fix that problem in this next game, they're rehashing old level design and rehashing old stages entirely. Like, we just seen 2 new Cyberspace stages recently with this recent gameplay, and what we have seen is Sky Rail in Green Forest. 2 great stages from Sonic Adventure 2, right? 2 great stages. But then it's in this game. It's in this game, and it's like, okay, I guess that's fine. At least you're rehashing stuff that we haven't seen before, or things that we haven't seen rehashed before. But then here comes the next problem with the rehashing. You're rehashing previous level themes that we have already seen, minus the city stage. I don't even know what's going on with that. It's just like a blank city stage, so it's a default city stage, right? I can't be mad at it, but I can't be proud of it either. Like, it's just something to put in there. But in terms of Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, why are we seeing that again, fam? You're telling me you couldn't rehash, out of all the stages in the Sonic series, that you could have rehashed classic, modern, adventure era, out of everything that you could have rehashed, you're rehashing Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary again? And the thing is, you got all these stages, right? You have all these stages that are taken from multiple different games. Why didn't you just rehash the levels entirely, themes and all? Like, you got levels from Dragon Road in there. Why didn't you just make the level assets Dragon Road then? You have levels from Windmill Isle. Just make the level assets Windmill Isle. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of seeing the same crap. I'm tired of seeing the same checkered pattern rock formation, the same green grass. I'm tired of seeing the temples. I'm tired of seeing Sky Sanctuary. I'm tired of seeing all of it. If you're gonna rehash, at least rehash something that has not been rehashed before, okay? And then here's another thing about the Cyberspace stages on top of that, right? The 3 main problems of Cyberspace, right? So far, we have the movement of it being stiff, just like Forces. Then we have the rehashing of level design, the rehashing of level themes, and now we have the length of these levels, all right? Everything about Cyberspace sucks. Moving on to the length, most stages are literally only a minute, minus Sky Rail and Green Forest from what we've seen. Most Cyberspace stages are only 1 minute, all right? And the thing is, and now that I think about this, because I thought about this earlier, what they could have done to make Cyberspace a lot more fun, all right? Because as we know, the gameplay loop has us in the open world for the most part. We collect stuff, we get into cyberspace, we do that, and those stages are bite-sized. That's fine. Cyberspace stages that take place in the open world, that's fine. But what they should have done, when you travel between islands, right? Let's say you're going from Kronos to Ares. They should have had like this one big cyberspace throne that's bigger than all the others to indicate that this is the one you use to travel between islands, right? You go through that portal, you enter the cyberspace stage that is 2 to 3 minutes long, ideally with Generations type level design, right? Fun level design. A 2 to 3 minute long stage, longer than the bite-sized stages that take place in the open world. And instead of having the rehashed level themes, have the theme of the level be from Kronos's green, grassy plains, and then have it transition as you play through the stage, have it transition into a sandy desert with canyons and plateaus and rocks and all that. Alright, so as you're playing the stage, you go from Kronos's green grassy plains into Ares' sandy dunes and all that. Have a stage that's 2 to 3 minutes long with Generation styles level design with the island themes being transitioned as you play through it. And then on top of that, when you beat the stage, right? When you beat the stage, because this gives incentive to the player. This rewards the player for actually having to touch cyberspace. Because remember, cyberspace is optional. So if you didn't touch cyberspace, and then here you go, it's time to travel between islands, and you have to play this cyberspace stage before you can access it in the the quick travel in the menu or something. You have to play this transitional cyberspace stage between islands, and if you haven't touched the optional ones in the open world, you're gonna be trash. You're gonna get a C rank, you're gonna get a D rank, right? And let's say you don't get rewarded. But if you're a good player and you play the cyberspace stages within the open world, the bite-sized ones, you have a feel for the controls and you have a feel for the level design. So when you go to play this transitional stage between islands, right? Let's say you get an A or an S rank. Have the ranks reward players, right? Have the ranks reward players, ideally an XP to level Sonic up before they touch the next island. So when you get an A rank or an S rank, let's say you get a D rank, you get nothing. You get a C rank, let's say you get 1 C to power. You get a B rank, let's say you get a C to power and a C to defense. You get an A rank, let's say you get the seeds and maybe some skill points. And then if you get an S rank, you get the seeds, skill points, and some other fourth thing. Reward the player for playing these transitional stages. When you have these stages, these transitional stages, right? Because not everyone wants to play cyberspace. All right, let's say you're in the open world, you come across a cyberspace thing, you don't want to play it. Let's say you barely touch cyberspace when you're playing in the open world. So when you touch these transitional stages, they do bad. So there will be that incentive there to actually get good at cyberspace. So when these transitional stages come by, you get the S rank, you get the A rank, and you get rewarded with things to level up Sonic when it comes time to go to the next island. All right, and then on top of that, on top of having a stage between islands with the themes transitioning from island to island and it being 2 to 3 minutes long with Generation style level design, on top of that, have ranks that give incentive to the player to actually play cyberspace while they're in the open world. All right, they're already playing these bite-sized levels that don't take up much time. So when they play these levels in the open world, they get used to it, and when they play this transitional stage, they're actually good. And they get rewarded for it with the S rank. They get the XP options, right? And then on top of that, on top of everything I just said, if you want to make it even more fun, have when you want to backtrack, all right? Because apparently we can backtrack in this game. So when you want to backtrack, instead of just going to the menu and hitting that fast travel, what you can do is you can hit the transitional stage again, but instead of it being just the same thing, have it be in reverse. So let's say you're going from Kronos to Ares. You beat that stage. You beat that transitional stage. Let's say you want to backtrack now. Now you can play the same transitional stage, but from the ending to the beginning. So it can be some kind of difference there, some kind of incentive to actually play the stage again instead of just hitting the fast travel. Or you can make the stage a mirrored version of the first one. All right. So if you're going to Kronos to Ares, you play that stage, and if you go back, you play a mirrored version of the first transitional stage. Is what I'm trying to say. If they were to do that, if they were literally to make these transitional stages in exactly the way that I just said, Let them be 2 to 3 minutes long. Don't have the themes of them be the rehashed themes that you see in the open world. Have the themes of these levels be the themes of the island and have them transition between them, right? As you're playing. Have the ranks so the player has incentive and a reason to play cyberspace stages in the overworld so they can get good, get the good ranks, get the good rewards for the good ranks. And then on top of that, instead of them just having to hit the fast travel menu, they can play the stage again, but in reverse or in a mirrored mode. That's how you make these stages fun, at least in a setting like this, alright? Yeah, you have the option of fast travel, and yeah, you have the option to not play the cyberspace stages, but there's incentive in it. You play these good stages, 2 to 3 minutes long. I'm just repeating myself at this point, because I'm honestly mad. This is something they legitimately could have done. If they had done this game honestly would have been a 9 or 10 for me. This game would have been a 9 or 10. But of course, it's Sonic Team, it's Kishimoto. They claim it's a first try at a new formula, which it is. Okay, which it is. But I would like to see them incorporate more incentive for the player in their next game. Okay, if you have incentive for the player, this replayability. You make the player want to come back and play the game after they've already beaten it. That's my entire point. But I've rambled on long enough. Like, this video is almost 20 minutes, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, and if you're new, consider subscribing to the channel. We're on the road to 400. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, because when Frontiers comes out, I'm playing it day one. All right. But until next time, peace.